Hey everyone, I'm Adin and today we're looking at the POWKIDDY X55 and how I set it up for a friend. So this is sort of a combination video of how I set this device up, and it's sort of personally how I would set up a Linux device, and specifically the X55 for a family member for Father's Day. So I want to jump into sort of ahead of things. So I'm going to do a setup guide and everything towards the end of this video, but I want to jump into the things that I really enjoyed about this device. So the first thing straight off the bat is the ergonomics and just the general ease of use of this device. I put it down, so I used it and I was seriously considering just setting it up and keeping it for myself because of this beautiful large screen. In the studio, it's not the brightest. This is not the production device. I'm told that the screen that will go to consumers is better, but it's not too bad, and it's not super bright in the studio, yeah, but I haven't noticed a problem apart from maybe using it outdoors, which I haven't done, but it will be a problem outdoors. Apart from that, it is a cheap device with a massive screen, and that enough, I think, is already kind of like video over, go buy yourself a POWKIDDY X55, because that already is a really nice feature, and I think a lot of people are, well, I have always been on the market for a nice, large screen retro gaming device, and this is it. And so my original video was, is this possibly the best budget large screen device? And it really is. They dropped the price, and so if you buy it from POWKIDDY, it's even cheaper. I got this from Go Game Geek, so also consider them because they add a whole lot of perks, and I'll put the link in the description below. But the price has dropped considerably, so there's that. The controls, so in my video, I don't think I mentioned the ghost diagonals that you do get with this D-pad. It's not the best D-pad in the world in terms of the actual functionality of it, but the use of it, I raved about it because it just feels really, really nice. It feels like a top-notch D-pad. I put it down looking at a few other devices and making videos about them, and then I picked it up again and I played it, and I was like, I'm going to set this up for this family member. I'm going to give it to him as a gift. And I was thinking again, should I give it to him? Because it is just such a lovely device. So it really is. And the controls as well as the screen are one of the reasons. These joysticks are fine for the price and everything. They are just normal Nintendo Switch style joysticks, which we've grown accustomed to. It does have the D-pad below configuration, which would tell you it's a much more powerful device, which it isn't. So that is a bit of a... To be honest, I actually quite enjoyed it. Obviously, if with some retro games you need the D-pad, you move your thumb down and you don't even notice that you've done that. And then the worst part of this device are these volume buttons. So firstly, the volume buttons are reversed. This is minus and this is plus, which makes absolutely no sense to me. And this is your start button. And this is your select button. But let's just take a moment to enjoy how loud these things are. Let's give you a comparison. So this is the RG350M, my very first device. And this, I don't know if I ever complained about it, but these are very clicky buttons. And then let's quickly switch back. It's very loud. It's ridiculously loud. It's unacceptable. All right, so let's get into the gaming and how I set it up and why I set it up the way I set it up. So they're already in a bit of an audio test. Very nice audio. Okay, I'm going to just put the audio all the way down. And then I'm going to show you something. So select X takes me into the RetroArch menu. And I want to show you, go to video, go to scaling, and let's switch into just scaling on. So I want to show you this. Now, this has been reserved for devices like the RG552. There's not a lot of large screen devices that render at integer scaling at such a large size on the screen. What I mean by that is when you render integer scaling, it's going to match the scaling of those pixels as it was on the original system. So according to this screen, they need this little bit of a gap for it to scale to the correct mapping of each little pixel. And there's not a lot of screens that will give you this much of real estate for integer scaling. And so you're getting pixel by pixel correctness on a very, very cheap device. So I did that for a few systems. I did it for GBA, I did it for a couple of systems, and now I've just done that for NES. The person I'm giving it to probably will want it full screen, but I'm going to try and convert him to integer scaling. All right, then I'm going to quickly take you through all the filters that I put on all the systems. I did a really down and dirty filter setup here, so it's not like super well thought out, but these are my go-to filters that I use. So for console systems, what I usually use is, all right, so we have to go to video, and then we go to video filters. See, I use video filters because shaders generally take up more CPU power, and this is not the most powerful device. It can probably handle shaders, but I don't want to set it up for a family member, and then they get it and they have to tweak it. I don't want that at all. So I just want it to be easy. So if we go in here, the video filter, for this specific system, I've used this Blog NTSC SNES Custom Pseudo MD Composite. That's Mega Drive Composite. So I've just put that on the Atari to give it a CRT screen effect. I don't know if you're going to see this on the video, but it's got this nice CRT haze over it. If I had to switch before and after, you'd see the difference. It just gives it a nice smooth CRT screen effect. Yeah, I quite like that. And I don't want it to be over enhanced because it kind of gets a bit much over time, I think. I think a nice subtle retro look is what you're going for. Arcade, I don't think I put it on. Dreamcast, I might have put that same filter on, but I don't know because Dreamcast already is taking a lot of processing power. Nintendo DS, I didn't do anything. So Game Boy, okay, so let's go into RetroArch. We go into video, and we go down to video filters. Here I used a dot matrix 3x Game Boy DMG grid. And so it gives it a dot matrix look, and then it gives it a bit of a color. I don't want to be too green. I like to go really crazy with this, but for someone who's not very into retro gaming, this is a perfect kind of medium look for Game Boy. So I like that. So Game Boy Advance is also a nice one. I like these older systems to do little filters on them. This has got integer scaling on. And if we go down here, video filter, all I did was a grid 3x. And it works really, really nicely. It just looks great. Like you could stretch it to just take advantage of this in the entirety of the screen. But for the sake of being a nerdy retro gamer, I gave him the perfect pixels, which looking at it now, I realize it's really nice because you're not getting any split, mushy pixels. It all just looks great. Yeah, that looks fantastic. All right, so let's check out what I did for Game Boy Color. Not drivers, video. I don't think I put, let's put integer scaling on. Let's go back. Let's go check what filter I put on, video filter. Okay, so I actually forgot what I've done before, but so this is integer scaling on, and it's stretched to the entirety of the screen. I don't know how accurate, I don't know how accurate that is now. I think I've lost my changes. All right, so let's go in again. We go to video filter, we go to scaling, put integer scaling on, and then go down to video filters. For some reason, I forgot to put a video filter on here, so we are going to just add a generic filter, the dot matrix filter. So it's not going to give it a color, it's just going to give it the dot matrix effect. And there, got a lovely Game Boy color effect, and it's integer scaling and it's stretched to the entirety of the screen. Don't know how accurate that is, but that looks pretty good to me. So you can see I've got that blog effect on here, and it's got the lovely CRT screen if that really works well on the Streets of Rage. So I'm just going to go in here, going to go into video filters and show you what I did. We don't have integer scaling on. Let's try it on. Let's go down here. Actually, I'm going to leave this. It's looking so good. Let's see what filter we've got here. Here we've got the Blog NTSC SNES Composite. So if you want to have a look at it, Blog NTSC SNES Composite. So far, I'm liking that one the most out of the ones I've used. Anyway, that looks great. And then I think I did that filter on all of the consoles from there on. So Mega Drive will be the same. Nintendo 64, I didn't add a filter onto that. Yeah, so on NES, I've got the Blog NTSC composite filter. I don't think I've added anything to PS1, but maybe I should actually now that I'm looking at it. Okay, so I just switched this to integer scaling and it only went down by just like a pixel or two. So now I've got accurate integer scaling. Oh, I'm going to have to map the joystick for him. But as you can see on the screen, this looks absolutely fantastic. It's probably one of the best PS1 renderings I've had on a device so far. Just for the sheer size of it, it's really nice. And the accuracy is very nice. There, so now I have mapped the joystick for him, and that is just... This really is some of the nicest PS1 on this particular game, on this Colin McRae. It's one of my favorite games. Wow, this is great. And this is one of his favorite games, so this is going to be really nice for him. I think he's going to love this. Wow, this is brilliant. Oh man, that's excellent. Okay. PSP, haven't had any filters, none of the Capcom systems. Super Nintendo, obviously I added that Blog NTSC SNES filter. It looks absolutely brilliant. And I'm going to just check to see if I added integer scaling. No, so I'm just going to save that. Save content directory overrides. Resume. Atari also has that Blog NTSC filter, and I've done this at integer scaling. Yeah, wow, it looks good. And these are the sorts of games he will enjoy. So if I can get this looking good here, the integer scaling, it does look better, but I don't know, maybe he will prefer just to be full screen. I'm not sure. Yeah, I just made that over full screen just because I think he'll enjoy that. As I mentioned, the screen is not the brightest, so let's quickly compare it to Retro Pocket 3 Plus. Let's see if I've got some power on this thing. To compare apples with apples, that is at that the brightness matched is about there, which is a quarter. If I go there, it's going to overexpose on my camera now because of the settings I've got to make that look okay. So this is considerably brighter, like in every way, shape, or form. But let me just match the brightness for a second. So let's just pretend like the brightness is not an issue, because it probably won't be for you buying it. Look at the comparison just of the resolution of each screen. So let's go into a game. So on this device, I don't have as many shaders and filters. This has got extreme shaders and filters. I actually don't like this one. I need to change this one. But we can see a slight color difference, but that also might be the filters that I've added to it. But overall, you can see that this screen is looking really nice in terms of the saturation, in terms of the color. This is definitely better. I mean, it's definitely a better screen. This kind of pops out the screen. But for the budget that this device is going for, that's a really nice screen. And then also it's much larger, which makes a huge difference. Okay, so now for this part of the video, I want to not make this video too complicated. So I've done a written guide on my website, just not a very in-depth guide, but just if you want to know how to install Jelos on the X55, it is there on my website. So please check that out. What I do want to jump into is my general setup guide for Jelos. There are a few things that I would do immediately when I got this to set up. So let's press start to get into the menu. And now we are going to go to network settings. And this is where you're going to enable network. So you enable network, then you put your Wi-Fi details in, you press back, and it will enable Wi-Fi and connect to the Wi-Fi. And if it doesn't, it will give a pop-up message saying it couldn't connect. Okay. Then retro achievements. Okay, so go to retroachievements.org, create an account, and then what you want to do is you want to go into game settings. You want to go all the way to the bottom. So retro achievement settings, go in there, enable retro achievement, and then put in your username and password. Say back, and now it's searching for retro achievements. It's going to enable retro achievements for my system. I have said put the challenge indicators, a rich presence, have badges. unlock sounds, show retro achievements, entry in the main menu. The next thing I want to do is show you how to do scraping. So if you go down to Scraper, now that you're connected to the Wi-Fi, I do the screen scraper. There is also the Games DB and Arcade DB, which you don't need a username for, but I do find that screen scraper is the best. And so the settings that I've used for screen scraper is screenshots. I just think the person I'm setting this up for will enjoy just the picture of the game in action. I like box art. I personally prefer to have it on like box 2D or a mix of things. Actually, I'm going to go for a mix. I'm going to say box 2D marquee, which is the logo, and then scrape ratings. Do I want anything else? Don't want the manual. Username and password, very important. Then say next. Now I'm going to say all, and I'm going to ask it to scrape that now. No. Okay. And now I'll just say back, and it's going to scrape everything with that mix. Let's have a look. Atari 7800. I put a lot of Atari games on for him because he's a fan. There we go. That's nice. With the logo and all the goodies. I think that's what I wanted. Okay, cool. So that's going to scrape there for him. All right, so now we can go to, we go into the menu again, and we go to System Game Settings. I just want to note, by auto save load, I say show save states if not empty, so that when you open a game, it's not automatically going to open that save state menu, because if it's empty, you don't have any purpose for it. So rather just only have it pop up if you've got some save states available for that game. You'll know what I mean when you click on a game. I've also selected incremental save states just because that's something that I enjoy. Cool. So now that we've enabled retro achievements, there's a retro achievements item in the menu. All right, there's quite a few things in UI settings. I haven't used a particular theme. Again, I have a special build for this device, but you can go and download themes and all that kind of thing if you like. You can configure that theme, which I haven't really messed with. I like the way this thing looks. Then RetroArch menu driver, I've done the XMB retro driver, the menu driver, just because I'm familiar with that menu and it works well on the screen. I've enabled favorites on top, so in your games menu, the favorites will float to the top. I've enabled show save state icon. You don't have to do that. That's a little save state icon that goes next to the game to show that it has a save states. Okay, we're going to go into game collection settings. So here I have actually, where in automatic game collections, I've enabled retro achievements so that it's going to compile a list of games that have now achieved retro achievements. And that really is it. Jealous on the POWKIDDY X55. I wanted to just do a short video to mention that I do think this is worth the money, and it definitely is a special device that I don't think is getting enough attention. There was a lot of drama with the screen. So my particular device, I only think there's a few in the world that exist with this problem. And so I have to go onto the Discord and ask for a specific software to install on here, because I don't know how to compile it myself. So the fact that that kind of thing is happening with POWKIDDY is really sketchy. And with the stock firmware, I was seeing screen flickering. So I thought the device was broken. I put Jealous on and now I don't have any screen flickering. So, there's all sorts of weirdness with this device, and I think it really put a lot of people off. POWKIDDY have dropped the price on their websites, and I see the price has dropped on Go Game Geek as well. So please go check out Go Game Geek. They've been quite good to me, and their service has been pretty good, and their shipping is really quick. So check out Go Game Geek. Overall, I think a large screen, comfortable device. It's perfect. The person that I'm giving this to has large hands, and it's perfect for him. So check out the POWKIDDY X55. I highly recommend it if you're on a tight budget. See you in the next one.